Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our November County of Brant O.P.P Detachment Board meeting. We have everybody present here in the room in terms of members, and we have Acting Inspector McTaggart online, joining us online today as well. He's, well, he can explain, he's at an O.P.P meeting that he needs to be at, but he's able to Zoom in here today with us, which is great. And we have Acting Staff Sergeant Koodenese, close, with us as well. I don't want to get the last names. I don't want to get those wrong. So Spencer's taking attendance, and we're ready to go. We have our agenda package. If anybody didn't grab one at the back, everybody's got a package. Just want to note, I guess today is the start of 16 days of activism towards gender-based violence, an international day that we recognize, leading up to the next 16 days to into December. I know that Mayor Bailey, you're also doing a flag raising today to recognize gender-based violence with Nova Vida, I believe, today. So that's an important day today to recognize. Also, just want to recognize that today marks, more than 1 year that we've had Member Boudreau and Member Stryker as part of the O.P.P Detachment Board. And I've left the challenge coin at your table there for you to officially recognize that for you both. And thanks for your contributions over the past year. And those are the same challenge coins that we distribute to members in the detachment once they've completed a year with the detachment. And I know that Acting Inspector McTaggart has a list of folks that we need to catch up on in 2026 in terms of distributing those challenge coins out to the different members in the detachment as well. So it's kind of a neat little thing that I just wanted to recognize today before we get started. So that being said, with the agenda, I do have one small item to add today. Cindy indicated that because it's with respect to 2025's budget, that I should add it to the agenda. It's a request with regards to a retiring member from Brant and in terms of recognition of that. So I'm not sure if it goes under other business or if we want to deal with it while we're discussing. I know we're discussing 2026 budget. I'll leave that to your discretion, but it's a small item to get your thoughts and feedback on. Where do you think that best fits? Other business, keep it separate from the 26 budget, so we'll add it as an other business item. Any other agenda additions? If not, motion to approve the amended agenda, Mayor Bailey, and seconded by Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we also will move on to our declaration of pecuniary interest. Any to declare at this time? None. And we have no delegations today. So our minutes from our last meeting on October 28th are in your package. Any errors or omissions at this time? Seeing none, a motion then to approve the meeting minutes. Yes, Member Stryker and Member Brown, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried as well. Any business arising from the minutes that you'd like to address? Okay, seeing none. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes of the Detachment Commander's Report, and I believe, I'm not sure which is, are you delivering? Okay, Acting Inspector McTaggart will be delivering there online. Everybody's got that in front of them as well. So we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for not being in person. I had a bit of a conflict with a senior leadership symposium in Aurelia that I was required to be here as well. So I will deliver my report. I just want to do a quick sound check at your end. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I'll start the report by the collisions. For the month of October, we had 12 non-fatal personal injury collisions and 68 property damage collisions for a total of 80 for the month of October. Moving along to criminal code and provincial statute charges. Again, for the month of October, we had 39 criminal code non-traffic charges, 9 criminal code traffic charges, 389 Highway Traffic Act charges, 1 Liquor License Act, and 31 in the other violation category. Of the traffic-related charges, the breakdown for the month of October was 215 speeding tickets, 8 seatbelt tickets, 4 impaired drivers, and 6 distracted drivers. Moving along to violent crime, we had 6 assault/firearm related offenses for October, 1 offense resulting in deprivation of freedom, 5 under the other offenses involving threat or violence, for a total of 12 under the violent crime for October. Moving along to property crime, we had 1 break and enter, 7 theft over 5,000, 22 occurrences involving theft under 5,000, 7 fraud related occurrences, and 12 mischiefs for a total of 49. And I know in the past I reported on property crime trends and the increase we're seeing month to month. I can say with the board that I have had consultation with our community street crimes unit as of this week, and in the past as well, but drawing their focus to the property crime increased trends we're currently seeing in Bryan County, and developing a plan to get ahead of that. So the idea is to review those occurrences a little closer, to engage our regional analyst, who then has the capabilities of consulting with our municipal partners in the same capacity that she has, and then to identify any linkages that we're seeing. I do have a highlight occurrence from Bryan County that I'll speak to later on in the report, but I just want to let the board know that this is not lost on me, and we're doing our very best to try to get ahead of some of these property-related occurrences that I'm seeing and reporting to you month to month. Moving ahead to drug crime, and I know Member Brown, you had spoke to this, and I'm still trying to source this out. I did get a response from our statistical unit that drafts this report, indicating that they're trying to draw the linkages there as well, indicating the issues that I've identified. So I'm just waiting for a response on that. But as you can see, we don't have any drug-related occurrences for the month of October, nor do we have any for, we have a total of 5 year to date. So again, a work in progress. Moving ahead to public complaints, we had 2 identified for the month of October. And moving along to the daily activity report, patrol hours for the month of October, 1,169 cruiser patrol hours, 5.25 hours of motorcycle patrol, 31.50 hours of ATV patrol, 106 hours of foot patrol, and 10 hours of school patrol. Youth charges for the month of October. We did not lay any charges, none to report there, but I will get into some further information by our school resource officer indicating some interactions he's had with local youth. Mental health act occurrences, we've had 23 for the month of October. And of those 23, 7 were attempt or threat of suicide, 2 were family dispute related, 13 were classified as mental health, and then 1 was deemed unfounded. We did not have any overdose occurrences for the month of October. And moving along to the victim service referrals, we had 44 offered occurrences, and of those 44, 8 were accepted. And I know Councillor Pierce, we had spoken in the past about breaking down those youth age groups, or the age groups in general, to specifically speak to the numbers of those individuals versus the percentages. Again, that is a work in progress through our stats unit that I'm trying to source out. As you can imagine, a lot of detachments across the province are having similar requests as your board has, looking for additional information from these reports. And I know our stats unit is trying their very best to accommodate that where they can. So I don't have any further updates other than what is reported on the report. But again, I'm trying to make those connections with our stats unit. Okay, so moving along to the local updates under our community mobilization officer, which is going to be known as our mental health liaison officer in January. The name is changing, as is the role. But for the month of October, again, 23 mental health related calls for service. Our MCERT worker, Emily, responded to 7 of those crisis calls, and 16 were new coast referrals for SOAR to follow up on. Of the 23 mental health calls for service, 8 resulted in apprehensions, 6 were admitted to hospital, and 2 were released. Total time in the emergency room, 12 hours and 57 minutes times 2. Mean time was 1 hour and 37, and the time in the ER ranged from 23 minutes to 4 hours and 39 minutes. Now, I do have some updates for the board in regards to the training that I've spoke to in the past. We've had a meeting to identify what the training is going to look like. So between us, Brantford Police, and Six Nations, as well as Brantford General, we've come up with a training package that we're going to deliver to our individual members at our respective services to inform them on what the process is and how we can potentially push back and increase the communications through our protocols to ensure that not only are our officers efficient, establish more efficiency in the ER, but making sure that the people in crisis are getting the necessary attention and due care and attention that they require while they're in our custody. So that is moving ahead. Michelle Murphy is going to deliver the training from our service, and the respective other services have identified those individuals as well. So hopefully moving forward, we'll have everybody trained by the end of the year. That's kind of my goal at this point. And then once we move forward, we'll then reconnect with this focus group to determine if everybody else is on the same page so that we can start moving this forward and pushing back on some of those idle time that we're currently seeing in our ER when I report to the board on that. So I feel that's a good news story here. Our school resource officer had 47 interactions with youth in 47 different occurrences, ranging from criminal code, provincial offenses, domestics, family disputes, mental health, and police assist calls. As you can see in the report, there was no criminal charges, but there was 1 criminal warning, 1 diversion for a criminal matter, and a POA charge. Another individual was charged under the Highway Traffic Act, and 5 Provincial Offense Act warnings, and 2 mental health apprehensions. Of those youth, 1 was admitted to hospital, and 1 was discharged by the assessing doctor. 2 youths were reported missing, but luckily reported safe and sound as well. Peace Vitalis continues to interact with the youth with personal safety classes to grade 1 students at the Children's Safety Village. He attended the Paris District High School and delivered our kids program to 2 classes at 2 elementary schools as well. And then he taught some personal safety classes at the Safety Village and represented our detachment at 2 Halloween events. Councillor Pierce and I believe Member Brown, you had talked about some more robust traffic stats. So I took the opportunity to, as you can see in front of you, break down the stats for 2024 and 2025 to show month by month the charges to compare where we are currently. So for 2025 October, we laid 153 Part 1 charges and 1 Part 3 charge. I did have a conversation with our traffic management unit about more inclusive and broadening their enforcement base beyond just speeding tickets. And we've identified 2 new traffic management unit members for 2026. It'll be PC Caleb Sinclair and PC Pam Novak, who's currently in that role. She will continue through to 2026 as well. So you will see a broader range of charges, I'm sure of that, moving forward. We had a commercial motor vehicle blitz on Highway 24 Bethel Road. That was on October 6th. And at that blitz was our member locally who's commercial motor vehicle trained, as well as 3 commercial motor vehicle inspectors and 1 Ministry of Finance inspector. They completed 12 level 1 inspections on those commercial motor vehicles, of which 6 vehicles were taken out of service and 1 plate seizure. In total, 33 charges were issued with 26 warnings. Special events. I hopefully the board has seen the farm video that PC Enzo Paletta put out. A great opportunity there for the liaison with the community on that one. And we also ran a stop and look campaign similar to what we did in the spring. We ran one again in the fall. Resulted in 11 charges and 4 warnings. And then the last piece here I'm going to report on is a property crime matter. Matter in St. George. So it's not lost on me some of the occurrences that are happening in these communities late at night, and this is an exception where we actually were at the right place at the right time. And when we did get this call for service, our members engaged with 3 individuals, I believe, in St. George, and through interaction and police detainment, those individuals were found to have warrants, as well as additional charges for going through vehicles. So possession of stolen credit card and possession of identity document was seized off those members and charged accordingly, as well as those arrest warrants were executed. So that's my report, pending further questions.
Thank you very much. That was, I guess I'd like to make a quick comment that the local update, I really appreciate the context and the information that's in the local update that you put together. So appreciate the time to put that, because I think it helps provide some context and color to some of the conversations that we're having with you and with respect to the community. I'll get started. I'm going to get in before Councillor Pierce does. Quick question for you. Are you seeing with the MOU and with the training, are we seeing a reduction in wait times? I know you've given us the average and the total time and everything else, but are you starting to see any improvement on the wait times?
Madam Chair, the training just happened this month. So moving forward, I'm anticipating we will see a reduction in the amount of hours. I believe it probably won't be until 2026 where we see a true value in that training. And what I mean by that is once all our members are trained, as well as with our with Brantford General, that is when we can then put this MOU in place and see some true efficiencies when it comes to timing versus us waiting at the hospital for such a long period of time. It gives us a little bit of leverage in order to push these matters forward, to put it back on the hospital to ensure some efficiencies at their end as well. So probably not immediately we won't see any results, but moving forward, definitely.
Thanks. I know we're all anxiously awaiting. This has been a long time, very long time coming. So hopefully we'll start to see some of those efficiencies in the new year, then look forward to seeing that. Let's open it up for other conversations and discussions and comments. Anybody would like to start us off with some questions? Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the inspector. I just want to add to the chair's comment. I want to thank you for the supplemental report. You're doing a lot of great work with the youth and engagement, and without that supplemental report, the regular report does not capture any of that. It's got zeros all the way down the road, and without you advising us and providing us that information, we would not be aware of that, nor would the public. That's all for now, thanks.
Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. First of all, through the acting inspector there, thank you for continuing to try and put those numbers with the referrals and all that kind of stuff. Muchly appreciated. So in the report, I'm just curious if it's just me or like when we look at even, for example, the first page of the report for the fatalities in the detachment area, if you look at the numbers for the percent change, like for example, we'll look at the motor vehicle. So it's 0, and then minus 100. Is that like we're just basing that on the previous year, correct?
It's
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair, Councillor Pierce. I believe that number is capturing, since we did not have any fatalities in the month of October compared to last year. I guess by having 0, that's down 100% versus what it was at. And I know the report isn't great when it comes to understanding some of those, but that's how I read it.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that that's the way I was reading it myself, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay, bear with me here. Then if we go to, so page 13, or page 13 of the report where it's got the e-ticket warnings. So again, if we look at October of 2024, there was 107. October of 2025, there's 216. Is there something that's jumped out here to, in essence, more than double?
Through the chair, Councilor Pierce, I believe what we're seeing here is members are accurately reporting a lot of this data that we haven't seen traditionally in the past. And moving to an electronic ticketing system, the members now, when they issue a warning, it automatically captures that versus before they would have to manually input that they issued some of the warnings. So the system itself is becoming a lot more efficient in capturing everything the member does. So I think you're going to see a little bit of this moving forward, but also to me, that tells me that some of these members potentially need to review how many warnings they're giving, and discretion is such a fine point with our members.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that away from them, but at the same time, if they stop a member and they have 5 violations, they issue 1 charge and 4 warnings. Is that really truly a reflection of that, what the individual should be facing? Again, it's discretion, so it's a bit of a tough subject there, but I feel that the warnings should be addressed on my end as well. So I'm having that conversations.
Okay, excellent. So would it be safe to say then, with the new electronic ticketing system, it appears to be more efficient, and it appears to be potentially even easier from an officer standpoint of view to just to have that there, so they don't have to do that at the end of the shift and stuff, correct?
Correct.
Good. But, overall year to date, we're down, so that's good. And then right at the bottom of that page, and I don't know if I've seen this before or not, but it notes that the ticketing system was not fully operational in 2022, available in 2023. So we can probably, because we're not doing 2023 stats, we can probably just take that off. And then if we go down to, sorry, just bear with me, with the property crime, the theft over 5,000, down in October compared to last year, which is good. With the as we say, the theft over 5,000 is usually the stolen vehicles. So is it the fact that there's less vehicles that have been stolen, or less vehicles that have been recovered?
Through the chair, Councilor Pierce, that's a really tough answer, or a question for me to answer. And what I mean by that is, if we make an arrest on an individual that has traditionally makes a habit of stealing vehicles, we're going to see an automatic reduction in those vehicle thefts. Or if that individual is arrested by another municipality or another police service, we're going to see that impact here as well. So to say less vehicles are getting stolen, I think there's a lot of factors in that. I just want the board to be aware that we are doing our very best locally here with the O.P.P and Brant to combat auto theft, and our street crimes unit is doing a phenomenal job of drawing those connections with our municipal partners to establish any ties and rings that we need to be aware of. So whenever I see the numbers go down, I feel that's a good news story, but I also am mindful that those individuals could potentially be in custody that are doing that type of theft. Perfect.
Okay, just a couple more, Madam Chair, I promise. So if you go to page 16, where it talks about for drug crime, this is part and parcel of having the numbers to go along with the percentage of change. Because if we look at the trafficking, for example, if somebody just looks at the 300% change, they go, wow, like what's going on here? But we went from 1 to 4. So that having those numbers in that sense is, it paints the whole picture. So I appreciate the fact that those numbers are in there, because it just helps people understand that, yeah, you know what, it is 300%. Not that that's good, but it's only gone from 1 to 4. It's not, exorbitant amount of increase. So that's that's part and parcel of how the numbers can really help us out here. And then with the, page 20, when it talks about the daily activity reporting patrol hours, again, and I know you've been working on this as well to try and break down the coverage between, you know, Brant North, Paris, that type of thing. So it'd be interesting to understand the locations of these especially with the, you know, the foot patrol and the cruiser patrol and the ATV patrol, because I know it was either the last meeting or the meeting before, when there was some complaints out of the Scotland area with the ATVs. I'm assuming that maybe the ATV patrol was that way, but don't know. So again, if we can, I know you're working on that, so that would, again, it would help us paint the whole picture if we had the breakdown of where that coverage was. I believe that is it, Madam Chair. Bear with me. Sorry. Okay, so that's it for that. But in your what you classify as the local updates, just one question I have when it comes to, and it's great that you put additional information in on the charges, the Part 1 charges, Part 3 charges. But again, to look at that. For the Part 3 charges, there's been one. Last year, there was 208, and this year there's been one. Is there an issue with those being all zeros, or just the fact that there was no, you know, it just seems like a crazy difference that last year there was 208 and one so far this year for Part 3.
Through the chair, Councillor Pierce, correct. And it's not lost on me that in years past, when we've had other individuals in our traffic management unit, speeding tickets have been very high. And I believe when Inspector Quendel was a detachment commander here, she explained to the board when we brought in 2 other individuals that were not so much traffic or speeding minded, that they were looking at other things, that we would see a broader perspective of charges. So we did have some staffing challenges through the summer. It doesn't explain the one Part 3, but the individuals that were in that role this year, one was our commercial motor vehicle inspector, PC Hall, who focused on commercial motor vehicles. Again, I can't provide an explanation as why any Part 3s weren't laid. Traditionally, he does lay a lot of Part 1s on those commercial motor vehicle drivers. But I can assure you, moving forward to 2026, we are going to see a broader perspective of these charges that you have seen in years past, especially in 2024, to be more fulsome and inclusive in the charge base. So I can assure you, you will see that change moving forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And one final one, Madam Chair, just curious, the Stop and Lock campaign. So on a Stop and Lock campaign, and there was 11 charges laid. I'm trying to.
Stop and look.
Stop and Look campaign. That's like, those are like stop signs, red lights, that type of thing?
Correct.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
So just on that last point, just for clarification, so that maybe a little bit more context on the campaign, just I think there's some, you're not in the room, so just there's some, maybe some clarity on what that campaign was looking at and what your team saw.
Okay, so I'll update the board exactly what that campaign is. So in May, I introduced this campaign that I brought forward from a previous location that I found very effective when it comes to reduction of serious collision-related injuries. In May, we saw 68 charges in the county versus 11 in the fall. So to draw the conclusion, the Stop and Look campaign focuses on predominantly intersection-related data, and we collect that data through our own reporting system as well as through Brand Safe Streets. So with our partnership with them, we're able to identify what we call like a top 10 intersection related priorities for the county. And so for that week that we ran the stop and look in the fall, members were sent out to those respective locations. And we weren't just focusing on those, but those were the ones that we were prioritizing. If the members felt there was another location that was more suitable, then so be it, that was their discretion to do so. But the idea behind this was to monitor those intersections, stop those vehicles that were committing an offense, and educate the driver on the importance of coming to a complete stop, looking twice, proceeding ahead when it's safe to do so. So we did see a reduction since the spring, and whether the drivers that typically take those locations that are in our top 10 are mindful of those intersections and what we are prioritizing in the reduction of those numbers, or whether members just weren't at the right place at the right time. I'm sure there's a few factors involved here. I'd like to think that we are making an impact with the community, and we continue to move this forward again, because I think there's a lot of value in that campaign. And if we can just prevent one person from rolling through a stop sign or just remind them to look twice, I think that serves us very well.
I feel a really good campaign to do, like, as you noted, a couple of times throughout the year or several times throughout the year. I know in my little part of the world, there's a lot of near misses. So they might not be on your top 10 because there wasn't any collisions, but there's a lot of near misses and a lot of willful folks driving through stop signs, knowingly driving through stop signs. And that's frustrating, I think, for road safety, especially in some of the places that we all live and work. So I think some of these campaigns are important to remind the community of the rules of the road, and also keeping people safe, whether they're pedestrians walking or whether they're other vehicles or what have you. But there's a lot of stuff out there that you see as you're driving around, and you just, I think these things help remind people, put them in a different frame of mind. Member Brown, you wanted to comment on that as well?
Yeah, if I could, Madam Chair, through you to the inspector. I'm definitely glad to see you doing this. I had a major concern when I was looking at the report. For the first few years on the board, we saw the accidents, in fact, going down year after year. And for the last 2 years, they've gone up 22 and 24%. So you've obviously seen this and are addressing that. But I don't know what's changed, if it's just luck, if it's bad weather, whatever it is, but something has changed where we're trending back up again. And it'd be nice to see us put a lid on that and reduce the injury portion of accidents, all accidents if possible. But I'll allow you to look internally and see if there's anything else that you can suggest that we may want to be looking at, but what you've done is a great start. Thank you.
Member Boudreau.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, to the acting inspector. This is actually a comment as opposed to a question, and actually relates to the local community report that he did, in particular with the St. George and the capturing of a couple of individuals. And the reason I want to comment it is I've seen quite regularly on social media our citizens commenting on encounters that they have that they would typically describe as uncomfortable, whether it's on a trail or some other incident that's occurred. But they didn't report it to the O.P.P. And I just want to emphasize, here's a great example of a citizen that actually made an observation, made a call. The O.P.P. did exactly what we would expect them to do, which is to act and ultimately apprehend a couple individuals we don't want in on our streets. So I would encourage anybody that's watching this, watches it in the future, make the call. It's up to the O.P.P. to determine whether that's an offense or not. If you're feeling uncomfortable walking on a trail, chances are you're not the only one that's encountered the same individual or individuals. So just encouragement to do that. The other thing I want to make is a comment, and maybe it's to the staff for comparison, because when I looked at those same stats that Member Brown was just talking about, I also recognize, certainly at my end of town, there's just a lot more traffic right now. And some of that traffic, frankly, is because of the construction we have, so you get more traffic congested into a certain area. So what might be interesting to understand from staff, if we actually look at these top 10 intersections as a for instance, has the number of vehicles passing through those intersections actually increased by a similar percentage? Or is it less? Or is it double what was there? There's no question, I've personally observed more distracted driving, and I've certainly seen the rolling stops that many people are referencing, including in the local paper recently. But what I also have a sense of, there just seems to be a lot more traffic. I don't know how much of it is construction, redirection versus just a growing community, and we have more cars that are on the road. But if there's anything that the board or even the O.P.P can sort of share with us and the community to better understand, are our streets busier, or in fact, are drivers just more distracted and doing more rolling stops? Thank you.
Is that something that you can work with Brant Safe Streets in your collaboration on in terms of trying to quantify what Member Boudreau was saying, just for some context to understand the volume and the impact?
Madam Chair, so the county runs vehicles counts. And I think it's every 2 or 3 years they do those counter checks on traffic flow. And I'm not sure whether the locations you're referring to are due for a traffic count. That's something that can definitely consult with Brant Safe Streets on Greg Demers and his team to see whether St. George, if that's the community that we're referring to, is due for a traffic count, because with growth and through construction, we are seeing, as Member Boudreau said, you're getting a lot of vehicles taking a different route than they have traditionally in the past that we haven't captured. So is there opportunity to understand that and in turn provide additional enforcement if necessary for those locations. So I think that's definitely something that I can source and try to get ahead of.
Yeah, and I don't think that it was just specific to St. George. I think Member Boudreau, maybe Paris with construction and volume and what have you. So I think it's probably more county-wide versus just specific communities, that looking at the big picture versus specific communities. Is that, we're all nodding our heads, so you can't see that, but Councillor Pierce, did you want to add in on that?
No, I think through you, Madam Chair, the inspector he hit it there in talking with Greg Demers, because he could tell him where because there's counters all over the county, right? So that's data that's there that, and even past data that they have would help to answer that, yeah.
Yep.
So he's definitely got the right person there.
That'd be great to understand that and have some context. Thank you for that point. I just also, well, not on the traffic, but I just wanted to comment, Acting Inspector McTaggart, on social media. So I just wanted to say what a good job the team is doing on posting different things, a variety of different things that are happening in the county. Unfortunately, it's probably been more, bad news in terms of stunt drivers and arrests and assaults and different things, but I think it's important that the community is aware of the breadth and depth of the types of calls that your team is getting. And I just want to encourage you and everyone involved to keep that social media presence active and current. Like, I think it really, some of the folks that I've come across have commented on just the presence that there is on the social media in terms of what's happening in Brant. And yes, there's other things on the West Region page as well, but it also aligns with what people are seeing in other communities. And I think it just helps keep people informed. So I know the community engagement officer is well into his new role, but yeah, just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the Detachment Commander's report? I'll just note quickly, because Acting Inspector McTaggart's not in the room, just note that last meeting we did talk about the action plan and the work that he's doing to create the action plan, local action plan, and the survey link is out to the community. So I would encourage you all to make sure your friends and neighbors and colleagues and peers and social media folks that that are able to do that. It's been shared by both the O.P.P and the county in terms of that link for the broader community. And then council has also, as a separate stakeholder, council has also been shared that survey as well. So that data collection will come in. And I just wanted to note, I participated in a couple of meetings to help out in the situation, but county staff have been phenomenal in helping develop that survey tool and helping Acting Inspector McTaggart actually make it happen on SurveyMonkey and doing the things that they need to do, and because the county already has the account and everything else. And so I just think it speaks to the great partnership that we have between the board and the county staff and the O.P.P and everybody working together for common goals. And I just wanted to note and thank the county staff for helping Acting Inspector McTaggart mobilize that survey in such a short time frame to be able to get it out and about into the community. Okay, well, if there's nothing else on the detachment commander's report at this time, thank you very much for all the work that's being put into putting that report together. I know it's an evolving process with data and data capture and how things are recorded, but good conversation here today. And Councillor Pierce, don't ever think that we wouldn't count on you to kickstart us off, because a lot of the things you bring up are kickstart other conversations. So appreciate you you leading the charge on some of those things. So without further ado then, we'll ask for a motion to receive the detachment commander's report. Mayor Bailey, thank you, and Member Stryker. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so then we're going to move into some staff reports that we have here in our package under section 8. So 8.1 is the draft 2026 budget, and I'm going to ask Cindy to review that with us at this time.
Thank you. Good morning. Through you, Madam Chair. So the report before the board this morning is a follow-up from last meeting. I did receive some input back from a couple of members of the board, which has helped to shape this final draft budget this morning. Just overall, the budget put forward is $54,872, which overall is a 7.4% decrease in comparison to 2025's budget. The input that I received really focused on reallocation of the funds that were intended originally for distribution of the newsletter through mail-out, and utilizing those funds in other areas in the budget, primarily in communications, community engagement type opportunities, as well as some additional funds for training. So just to touch on those particular items, the 2026 budget has 2,000 additional funds to permit the detachment commander to attend the O.A.P.S.B. conference, and it would allow for some other training opportunities for board members, such as webinars, which I understand are available throughout the year. Materials and supplies, there's $1,000 allocated there, and if I look back at the history of the budget, that's never been a budgeted item, but there are usually inevitably some items charged to materials and supplies. So that would cover that off, and there was some input received around having some funds available for identification for board members or promo type items to be available for the year. The public relations and awards section of the budget, there's a few new items there through input that I received. So the first is a Citizens Police Academy, and that's a new initiative planned locally in 2026. And those funds would permit the board to support that. The next is board appreciation. So this would be a standing fund that would allow the board to provide support for long-serving O.P.P. retirees, departure of senior staff members. And the board has supported these types of items in the past, but there's never been an allocated fund for that. Auxiliary support program. So this would be to support the brand auxiliary program, which again, the board has done in the past, I think just did recently, through purchase of a plaque. But it has never been a standing item in the budget. Remembrance Day events. This would allow requests to support various Legion and community events. And again, this has always been supported by the board, but hasn't been an established budget item. Nova Vita event, board and O.P.P. attendance. This was an event that members attended in 2025, and funds have been allocated in the budget for 2026 to do so. O.P.P. promotional items. This would support O.P.P. members in community engagement, goodwill, and recognition at various youth and community events. Through some discussion I had with Acting Inspector McTaggart, I understand that a lot of these expenses are actually paid for by staff on their own, because there is no amount for that coming from the O.P.P. So this would provide funds for the board to provide that support. And O.P.P. community education sessions, funding here would support advertising, refreshments, and handouts at different types of events, such as the one that was held at the Brant Sports Complex in the last couple of months. And then community engagement opportunities. So funds were reallocated to this account, which would provide the board with some funding to attend other events and agencies that are connected to the board, such as Victim Services, SOAR, Crime Stoppers, food banks, etc. The insurance premiums have been adjusted upwards for an inflationary adjustment of 3%. We don't really know what that's going to be until next year, but that is the number that the county is using as well for our broader budgeting. And memberships and subscriptions have been adjusted for an anticipated annual fee increase as well. And as noted at the last meeting, the one-time item to support the Special Olympics has been removed for 2026. And lastly, the section in the report speaks to the 2025 surplus and some input that I received from some members in terms of supporting the local detachment in purchasing of e-bikes. There were some members that suggested this, noting that there are some detachments around us that have done purchase e-bikes, which for use by the O.P.P. to support the community. And looking at where the board's budget's going to be by year end, if the board wishes to pursue this, it's my suggestion that we look at utilizing the surplus that we'll have by year end because of the change in the distribution of the newsletter. There'll be at least $16,000 savings as a result of moving the newsletter to online distribution. So there are mechanisms to do this. I've worked with Acting Inspector McTaggart in the past on a couple of memorandums for assets where it spells out, after purchase, the O.P.P. can utilize the asset but would look after the maintenance of it and any associated costs while they're using the asset. So staff could work on that with O.P.P. staff if that was the wish of the board to do so. And that concludes my overview. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so we have two things in there. We have the 26 proposed budget, and then we have some 2025 surplus recommendations. Any questions or comments? I think, Member Striker, you had your hand up?
Yeah, through the chair, I just have a question of clarification. Since each e-bike is less than $10,000 each, would they even be classified as an asset in the books?
Because it would be depreciated, you're thinking?
I thought we had discussed earlier at one point that any item under $10,000 wasn't considered an asset in that sense, in the bookkeeping sense.
Through the chair, I can tell you that through the county's budgeting process, any item that is over $10,000 goes through our maybe not set in stone, but that's typically the guideline, that it goes through our formal capital budget. So I refer to the item as an asset because it is a piece of property. And we would need to work out, whether you call it an asset or something else, who is going to look after that item once it's purchased.
So perhaps just kick off a couple of comments. Just want to thank Cindy for working with us on the report and the recommendations and how best to manage everything, and also acting Inspector McTaggart for his input, and to the other members who've also had input into the 26 budget. One of the things that Cindy and I also discussed with respect to some of the items that we're proposing in the 26 budget, and the three of us did meet last week to kind of review this and talk about it, would be some policy parameters that we'll work on for 26. So as much as there might be some things allocated to different parts of the budget, we might want to put some policy parameters around some of it so that there's some guidelines or some pieces of information that would help us as a board in terms of how we allocate those funds, or also delegate the decision-making of those funds potentially. So that will be something, Cindy and I have talked about it for maybe the past year or two, but we've been so focused on getting us back into regular order with the O.P.P detachment versus the previous police service board. But I think we both prioritize that as something for 26 to bring a proposal back to you to review and discuss and have input on. So just wanted to note that as well, because that will also come into play when I talk about the other business item that I have is, what, for example, if we want to recognize longstanding retiring folks from the detachment, what parameters we put around that. We have parameters for the challenge coin, so we can put some of those policies in place, and then future boards have some guidelines, some rules of the road that they can follow in terms of some of that decision-making process. So I just wanted to note that we'll be bringing that back in 26. Perhaps maybe if good with everybody, we can maybe just start with the 26 budget as the first part of the report. We can parse this out a little bit. Is there any questions for clarification, any concerns, anything that anybody would like to discuss? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, comparing the 25 to the 26, when it says newsletter, spring and fall, then the 9,800 that was last year, that was for printing it only, correct?
I'll ask Cindy to clarify.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. There was that amount for printing and then a separate amount for postage.
For the postage, right?
Yeah.
So with just the ones we're gonna have at, the libraries and the community centers and stuff like that, that's what the 1,000 is this year for the print, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then can you just clarify for me for and I think you might have just touched on it there, Madam Chair, for the community engagement opportunities. So that's, I'm just trying to understand what we have in mind to go from 2,500 to over 10,000.
I'll probably do a tag team response to this with anybody, Cindy, and I don't, sorry. The idea of that is we get things throughout the year that we potentially could support or participate in, but we never have had a fund allocated to that. So is there, and not knowing today what those might be in '26, we wanted to be able to have, and through some feedback that we had from some other members, we wanted to have some funds set aside that would allow us to either support our detachment folks or the board as well in engaging and participating with some of those community engagement. Now, I just want to make sure that I'm reading the right line that you are, Councillor Pierce, in terms of, that's the 10,680 that we're talking about?
That's correct.
Yep. And then, I'm not sure where, Cindy has this captured, so I'm gonna, also, if I say this wrong, she'll correct me. I believe some of the community engagement opportunities we also discussed were some of the items, for example, Halloween at Safety Village, or Easter, or summer camps. A lot of the things that the O.P.P take there, whether it's the Halloween candy or the freezies in the summer, they're personally paying for this out of their own pockets. And so we are suggesting that that's maybe something that the board can support, rather than them personally pay for that. And that's just another way to engage with the kids and the community in those regards. There's other things that probably could come under that, but we left it at that amount, just not knowing and as they come up, we'll bring them to the board, or we'll have some policy parameters around that. But Cindy, I don't know if I've captured that properly.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I did create a separate line to capture the Halloween events and other,
Okay.
so that's under O.P.P promotional items right now for $1,000.
Okay. Yes,
So, and I appreciate that explanation there, but what I'm trying to understand is, if we look at the 2025 actuals for that community engagement opportunities, we haven't spent anything. And we budgeted 2,500, and now we're quadrupling that. I'm just
what's going on?
I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just curious as to, is there some key ones out there that we're looking at, or, why the?
Yeah, and I think I'll invite others to speak to it as well, but I think the idea is to be a lot more intentional in '26 and actually committing to some of these things and broadening our scope and getting, I say we, the royal we, it could be the board, the O.P.P together with the county, depending on how all that works, but it's allowing us to then be more intentional and getting them actually on the paper and committed to going to it, whether it's Crime Stoppers, whether it's another social service agency. It's not just Nova Vita that we are going to support. It might be there might be other events that we don't know about right now. We don't know what they are or where they're planned. It might be more than just the golf tournament. It might be, right? So it's just, how do we get them captured and then intentionally make a plan to do it in '26?
Okay, so, and final one, I promise. So you just mentioned the golf tournament. So that's kind of where that would fall, would be in that one?
Don't want to make this more muddy. I know Acting Inspector McTaggart has his hand up, but I want to just clarify the golf tournament with Cindy first, and then I believe, Member Stryker, you had your hand up as well.
Through you, Madam Chair, there is, and there was this year as well, $1,000 for the emergency services golf tournament, budgeted separately. I understand that that wouldn't include actual participation by board members. They all pay for themselves currently to attend that. That is just a sponsorship from the board currently.
Right, but it was zero in 2025, did we not? I thought I know last year with the, because we were kind of in limbo, we didn't donate, but did we not donate this year?
Yep, it's.
We did. It's possible that just has not run through the finance system yet.
Okay. all
Yeah.
right. So I'm
I
not
know I've seen emails about it and approved it, so, yeah.
Okay, I'm not totally losing it then. Thank you.
Nope, that's good questions. We'll go to Acting Inspector McTaggart online, and then Member Stryker after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor Pierce, I mean, you're correct when you reference the funds allocated for the community engagement. And when I met with Cindy and Chair Haley last week to discuss what the future looks like, there's a lot of opportunities here that we have not explored, partially because the change of the board and what exactly line items that we actually could do with that money. And I mean, by we, I just mean as a supporter of the board to what the community needs are that the O.P.P has traditionally tried to support. And Chair Hurley is correct when she mentions that a lot of my staff at Detachment are supporting some of these community events ourselves, and we've never not done that because it's the right thing to do. But if there is an appetite and an avenue to better support these community events and let the community know that the board is behind them, and when I mean them, I mean us as the O.P.P, I think that is going to speak volumes for getting messaging out there as well. So I think there's a lot of confusion as to what we could do with some of those funds. And now that we've narrowed it down and tried to put it in an area that can be expanded on, that was the whole purpose of that. And I feel personally that there's a lot of work and a lot of great things that can come out of the community engagement, because it is endless with the amount of opportunities that there would be within the community of Brand itself to spread some of the word. So that's kind of my take on it. And Madam Chair, please feel if I'm off base on anything on there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Stryker?
Yeah, through the chair. I also would support increasing the community engagement opportunities. I think it's a great way to build trust in our community, to get to know who our neighbors are, the different aspects of our community as we expand. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunities just to get to know our community better and our neighbors better. And by having these funds, we can support the O.P.P as well as the board in moving forward, just learning more about who the county of Brant, who lives in the county of Brant.
I agree. Thank you, Member Stryker. Any other questions on the 2026 proposed budget? This, just for reference, we need to make some decisions today because it needs to go, we don't meet in December, and it does need to go to the county as part of their budget process, as many of you are aware. Any other questions for clarifications? Seeing none then, is there anybody willing to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adopt the 2026 budget as presented by staff.
Thank you. Member Brown, you're willing to second that motion? Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the proposed 26 budget? And that's carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so then the second item on our report is the 2025 surplus and the recommendation from staff. Obviously, we've realized quite a lot of savings between postage and printing and the surplus. And this item was raised as potentially a 26 item, but the recommendation is to use surplus from 25. There's two items in there. I just wanted to focus that we have the e-bike proposal, and then there's also $1,000 for the Community Street Crime Unit, which Acting Inspector McTaggart talked about how busy they've been lately for their surveillance and investigative tools. And as we discussed earlier, staff would work with the O.P.P to develop that memorandum of understanding for both of those pieces if we decide to support. And so we know that we have some confidence there in terms of that process. We have some experience with some other pieces of equipment that the county and the O.P.P have worked together on with our support. So there's a procedure in place with some confidence there. So I guess I'll open up the floor for any conversation or discussion about those two items and the recommendation to use 25 surplus. Member Boudreau.
Yes, potentially related to the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, because obviously, if we make this investment for the e-bikes in particular, usage is going to be a big thing that as a board member I'm going to be looking at, and certainly the community is going to be looking at it as well. So typically when I would be in a business environment in this area and I'm giving somebody an asset, I'm looking for a return on the investment, which means I'm typically looking at a commitment, a key performance indicator that says we will commit to executing X hours of patrol on the bike as a for instance. So I don't know if that's been done in the past. Obviously, very difficult to do with something like the camera. But when I see something like an e-bike, which can be translated to hours of officers on trails, as a for instance, are riding through the community, that strikes me as something a bit more specific and concrete for the community and for the board to latch onto and appreciate and ultimately hold accountable. Then I understand there's, historically just a commitment to use it, but I don't consider a commitment to use to be an hour. And I don't know honestly don't know what the right number is, but I want it as something to be considered. And perhaps this is about the acting inspector coming back to us with a recommendation of what they see as a reasonable commitment for the O.P.P to match. But that's the one thing I'd be looking for as sort of an additional commitment, is not just to use it, but what's the hours of usage. Thank you.
And I guess in that KPI, like there's probably a number of factors that influence that too, right? Availability and staffing and all these great things. But is that something that you're comfortable with Acting Inspector McTaggart coming back to us with on? Or do you need that, like, I don't know, we could establish that today necessarily, but.
I am, yeah. I'm not suggesting I wouldn't vote positively to actually make this happen. But I do think, knowing that the MOU needs to be flushed out, and it's been done historically in the past, I would just ask that staff and the acting inspector include in that a discussion around what that commitment is. And I understand whether it's weather availability of staff, other priorities, that can switch over time. But if it's the old saying in my mind, it's out of sight, out of mind. If it isn't a number that somebody is trying to chase, or at least being held accountable for on the reporting side, then it likely isn't going to have the same priority that we would like to see it have.
I know Acting Inspector McTaggart and I have talked quite a bit about this issue of the bikes, and I'll ask him to comment as well, but I share the concern that, and I know he does as well, that if we do proceed with this, that our expectation as a board is that we will see these out in the community prolifically to show their value and their ability to interact with the community. And we know that they're a great community engagement tool. We know there's lots of research that shows all the great reasons why they're such an important part of community engagement and community safety. So I know we're all well aware of that. And, maybe this is the pilot. Maybe we're going to see that these are a fantastic piece, and that, we're going to see that we need maybe additional ones in future years. That would be a great problem to have, and as the community grows. So I know that we've talked about that. I know that Acting Inspector McTaggart's very much top of mind, as is Staff Sergeant, about the deployment of the equipment. But I agree with you. And I look to other communities, speaking to Oxford, they just recently purchased 12. So it is not unusual to see, that they work and then they continue to support them. So this being 2, I think it's a great dip our toe in the water and get it. But to your point, they need to be utilized and deployed and used to show that they can have value to the community. I'll ask Acting Inspector McTaggart to weigh in there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Boudreau, I'm not lost on the fact that value for money is definitely important in this aspect for the board to contribute and to invest in this opportunity for our service. We have a number of trained members on bicycles that are more than eager to get out there and do those proactive patrols, either through their regular shifts or during those opportunities through special occasions, through parades and fairs and whatnot, just to showcase what our service can provide to the community. So I can assure you that we'll be keeping a close eye as well if this is approved by the board to move forward on, because I have been inquiring on our local bicycle shops on what exactly would suit our needs as a law enforcement service. Because we would need something very robust that could take some of the punishment and abuse that our members potentially could put these bikes through especially when that's the training that they get through our bicycle course. So I'm still having these fact finding through our local bicycle shops to find something that is going to suit our needs, and that will allow our members to cover a lot more ground than a traditional bicycle that doesn't have the electronic component to support the rider. So I feel like there's a lot of untapped opportunities here with these bikes, and I can assure you that we will be utilizing them to the utmost.
Any other comments or questions on either of the two recommendations? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So just the, as far as the e-bikes, it's got this type of asset would not only provide directly by the O.P.P, it is estimated that the two e-bikes with accessories would cost in the range of $10,000. What are we talking range here?
So I think what we're proposing, because of the time frame and the crunch of trying to get everything together, that we would potentially approve a maximum of this. Acting Inspector McTaggart's in the process of getting his 3 quotes and getting everything together with what he needs, as he mentioned, through the local companies. And then he would work with Cindy to make that happen, but it would not exceed whatever the board chooses to approve. But we expect, and Acting McTaggart can confirm this, but through his collaboration with some of the other detachments that have purchased similar types of equipment, that this potentially with the what's it called? The carrier and then the 2 bikes and the various pieces of equipment that go with it would be in this neighborhood of maximum of $10,000. Did I capture that okay, Acting Inspector?
Madam Chair, that's correct. As you can imagine, there's quite a large ceiling on the options for e-bikes. And like I said, I'm not looking to get the most current and the most fancy piece of equipment. I want a piece of equipment that's going to actually serve our members and what the purpose they're going to be used for. So the bikes right now, quotes are between 3,800 and 45 a piece for the e-bikes, and the carrier is $500-600. It's not very expensive. And then I was just looking at a couple of bags to put on the back of those bikes to members to put their whatever they need to in the back of the bike to carry with them. So I'm hopeful we can get something under $10,000 based on those quotes there. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for, and that's kind of the ceiling that I've given the bike shops to work within.
Good. Mayor Bailey, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here. Councillor Pierce and I are going to have to bring this forward for the budget, which is coming up very soon. And so if you could get us to Cindy to get us all the information to support all of this. The 10 bikes that Oxford bought, were they bought by by the Police Services Board, or were they bought by O.P.P? Oxford.
I believe they were bought by the police service boards, the 3 police service boards in Oxford.
Okay, you know that?
That's, I'll ask Acting Inspector to confirm.
Yeah.
To Chair Mayor Bailey, that's correct. My peer in Oxford County actually shared that information with me after a discussion I had him on what our board was looking at as well. And that's when he shared with me that their 3 boards purchased 12 bicycles for the O.P.P. The O.P.P did not purchase them.
Okay, that's great. It's just that it's going to be a very tough budget this year. And I know that, especially back to the 2,500 going to 10,000 or whatever it was, 25 to 10,000. We're going to get questioned on that just because it's such a big difference, over 300%. So anything you could fill us in on, maybe even Chair Haley, if you can send Councillor Pierce and I all the different options and what you're thinking, because I mean we can only present it, but then it goes into the hands of council. And I support it. I think it's great, but I do know that this is going to be talked about when it comes through. It's just too different to go unnoticed, and I can almost picture the councillors that are going to say something, and we've got to have a good response, because I do think it's valuable, but Councillor Pearson and I need all the information you could give us to support it when it comes to budget.
Cindy, do you want to, is there anything you want to clarify there or add into?
Yeah, I think through the, Madam Chair, to the mayor, the report that I've put forward proposes that the board uses this year's surplus to purchase the bikes rather than include it as a 2026 budget item. So if the desire of the board is to use the surplus, in my opinion, it would then not have to go forward to council because it's not adding funds into the 2026 budget. It's utilizing leftover funds from 2025 that we have because the newsletter shifted to the online distribution.
And through the chair to Cindy, the same argument might be asked, then why aren't we putting it back into our budget when we're asking for $10,000 more and we have a surplus? Why aren't we trading it back before we ask county for more money? I'm just trying to get in front of all this.
Through the chair to the mayor, so the 2026 budget, overall, there's actually a decrease from 2025 of 7.6%. So funds have been reallocated into different accounts from 2025, but overall, there is actually a decrease that would go forward to council from 2025.
Perfect.
Great. Member Stryker, did you want to add? Oh, you're good? Okay. So we have the 26 budget approved and will be presented in the process for the county's process. So then with the 25 surplus, we have these two items. I don't know, Spencer, do we have to do them separately as a motion or do we do them together depending on the will? Like if everybody's in agreement that they can all be together, can they be together? Okay. So is there any other discussion on the two pieces of equipment with respect to 2025 surplus as per Cindy's recommendation? Member Stryker?
So with the time, or through the chair, with the time constraint of using these funds before the end of December, I would propose that we give a little bit of leeway rather than a maximum of $10,000. Quotes have not come back. We all know and have experienced inflation in our own household budgets. So I would just propose that we give some leeway. We do have up to $16,000 in surplus. Okay, so I would propose that we give leeway of an additional 20% if needed, just to make sure that we can get this purchase completed before the end of December, so it does fall into this fiscal year.
Specific to the bikes, like, or to both items?
To both items, to be honest, like, and accessories.
Okay. So you're suggesting that there's a maximum amount with the cushion of up to 20% in addition, depending on?
If required.
If required.
So the goal is 10,000, but if.
I'm also cognizant of the time frame in needing to get this figured out in time for the 2025 and comfortable that Cindy and Acting Inspector McTaggart can make all that happen to recognize that in 25. I'm not sure what everybody's comfort level is with adding in the buffer. Councilor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Inspector McTaggart there, but I think you were saying for the bikes, it's anywhere from 38 to 4,000 per bike, and then the carriers and that. So from what I'm hearing here, I think the 10,000 would be more than sufficient to get the two bikes and get them the accessories that are required for those. So again, I'll circle back to what Mayor Bailey was saying there, even though, you know, the reality is we do have a reduction in next year's budget going forward to council, which is great, because it is going to be a very interesting budget. And then the fact that, this is a surplus from 2025. But I think it would be potentially a better, I don't want to say story, it would be a better outcome, I think, if we were to, set the max at 1,000 or 10,000 and the camera for 1,000. So we can say as a board at the end of the year, by the way, we've got 3,000 surplus that's going back, or 4,000 surplus that's going back. I think that paints a better picture, and I still feel confident that that's going to get everything that the O.P.P needs in these two bikes in order to make full use of them. Just my idea.
Yep, thank you. Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment. I agree. The O.P.P has been looking for this for, I think, 3 years now. They've come to us for it. So the return on the investment for these bikes is beyond the financial commitment that we're going to make. Getting the officers out of the car and giving them different opportunities to interact with the community, I think we'll receive many times more the financial commitment that we're making. And to Councillor Pierce's point, Acting Inspector McTaggart has come to us requesting $10,000, and I think he's confident that he can fulfill it with that, I'd be more comfortable sticking with the $10,000 that they've requested.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, clarifications? Very good discussion. I think I'm hearing some alignment in terms of how we want to support the community, which is great. And we have this opportunity. Thank you, Cindy, for working through this process and making this recommendation and trying to align the strategies of the board and everything. So that's very helpful. Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a comment if I could, and hopefully, when we do get these bikes, we can have the inaugural ride by Acting Inspector McTaggart and Acting Staff Sergeant Kootenais here, just to show us what these bikes are all about. I'd be looking forward to that, Madam Chair.
I think that's a great idea, both of them together. Yep. I think that's great. So if there's no other discussion, no other conversation, clarification required, is there anybody prepared to make a motion? If you are, we are able to do both together in the same motion. If you don't feel that's appropriate, we can split them out into two motions. But is there anybody willing to make a motion at this time? Member Boudreau?
Yeah, I'll make the motion with the 10K as the maximum amount.
And do you want the camera included in that as well, motion? So 10,000 maximum for the e-bikes and whatever that accessories are, $1,000 for the camera, total of $11,000.
Correct.
Okay. Seconder for that motion, Member Brown. Last call for any further discussion on the motion. Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I feel like we have crossed the finish line on something that's really great to see. I appreciate everybody's work on this, and Acting Inspector McTaggart, you've got some work to do, I guess, to make that work for your team. But I'm eager to hear the feedback from the folks, the Community Street Crime Unit, in terms of the extra camera. We know that they've used additional equipment that we've provided quite well, so we're eager to hear how that gets deployed. We spend a lot of time on the bikes, but I know that the unit will also deploy this camera as well. But look forward to hearing more about this acquisition at our meeting in the new year. Thank you, everybody, on that one. Seems like a little anticlimactic now, but we are going to move into our next report on 8.2, false alarm statistics. And I'll turn that over to Cindy as well.
Through you, Madam Chair, a couple of highlights from this report. So year to date in 2025, there have been a total of 185 responses to false alarms, which compares to 205 responses during the same time period in 2024, for a decrease of 10.8%. You can also see that because of the new fee schedule and the requirement that a property is not reset for 2 years, we do have some more invoicing happening in 2025, which is fairly significant. So 25, just over $25,000 year to date. The Progressive Communications Plan, I know is ongoing with social media posts to create public awareness around this issue. The warning letters, the new series have not yet been launched, and I'll take responsibility for that. They are just about ready to go. Just need a little bit of capacity to review and finalize them before we start issuing them. So that is planned to happen by the end of the year. And I'm happy to take any questions.
This might be a similar situation as we talked about earlier with the Stop and Look campaign in terms of volume, and we don't track this, but obviously we're giving out more, in some cases, more warnings or responses, but really it's the dollar amount, I guess, with the new fee structure in place. Hopefully, we see in '26 that it is impacting the numbers at the end of the day, and with the education program that you have as well. Member Stryker.
So through the chair, I'm just wondering if you can comment, just to make me understand, once these new warning letters are completed, will the bylaw officer on-site visit for the third and fifth response also commence at that time?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. Yeah. Before we start doing that, we obviously need to educate people that that's going to start happening. So I suspect that that will have some effect on the repeat properties. And hopefully we start to see that downward trend next year when those visits start happening.
Just as a follow-up, is the bylaw officer planning to just visit the location, or will an effort be made to communicate with the owner of the property?
Through the chair, I think we need to work out those particular details. The on-site visit to the property would be the first step, for sure. And I think then, based on information that may be gathered during that visit, we could then look to trying to contact the property owner from there if we're having some real challenges. But that could be sort of a, phased-in process.
Any other comments or questions on the report? I know it's on the list of things for you and capacity, and I know also we can potentially include that in a dispatch newsletter in the future as well in terms of extending that reach and whatnot. If there's no other questions, we'll have a motion to receive the report for information. Councillor Pearson, Mayor Bailey, thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you, Cindy. 8.3 in our package is the 2026 meeting schedule that Spencer has put together, and I'll ask him to speak to that.
Through the chair to the board, in front of you is the proposed meeting schedule for the board for 2026. I would like to just point out one correction. The date on the report did say March 26th, but it should have been March 24th, just to keep in line with the current meeting schedule of the, I believe it's the third Tuesday of the month, just to keep in line with what the board currently does. Nothing has changed for the proposed schedule other than you'll note that following the October meeting, there's no meeting in November, and that is just because of the municipal and school board election.
So our last meeting effectively with this board would be October 20th, and then reappointments and whatnot. Okay. And the provincial appointments, I think, are due around the same time, I believe, as well. Yeah. Okay.
Through the chair, some of the provincial appointees, I believe, are July 2026 expiration.
Okay, something to think about. So any comments, questions, concerns about the proposed schedule? If not, that we will have a motion then to approve that schedule for 2026. Member Boudreau, Councillor Pierce, all those in favor? And that's carried. We can get those in our calendars. Okay, moving on to, we have no communications at this time, so we'll move on to updates. Councillor Pierce, anything from council? Oh, sorry. As under their business? Oh, it's a, would it go under its own section, or?
We could do it either before or after the updates for other business.
Okay, we can do it right now. Thank you. I'm just used to it coming at the very end of the agenda. Sorry about that, folks. The other item, thank you, Member Brown, that I just wanted to bring to your attention is our Community Mobilization Officer. Michelle Murphy is retiring after a very lengthy, long career in the O.P.P. And she has served Brant for a very long time. I'm not sure the exact number of years, but we all know that she's done a lot of work on our grants, mental health, community engagement, a number of things. And as I mentioned earlier, this could be one of those policies that we can develop, Cindy and I, for your review and consideration, but given that it's happening now, I think we have an opportunity to recognize longstanding officers within the detachment with some type of acknowledgement from the board for their retirement and their service to the community. And so in talking this to Cindy, the recommendation, because it's not in our 2025 budget, I need to bring this to you today, that we find we've already established the plaque for the detachment commander, but this would be some type of a gift, a token gift up to a maximum of $100 that we would find, whether it's flowers or something from the board to acknowledge her retirement, to be able to present that to her towards her last day, which will be sometime in December, and it would be on behalf of the board. And then we can establish a policy moving forward as to, you know, what the parameters are, how many, you know, and we're not talking about people that just leave to go to other job, like other lateral transfers or other promotions or whatever. We're talking about like actual career retirements. So, anybody willing to, I don't believe I can make a motion, so I need someone to help get it on the floor. Member Stryker?
Sure. I would like to make a motion to acknowledge retiring officers from the O.P.P. So a motion to acknowledge that with a gift to a maximum of $100
Okay.
on behalf of the board.
Anybody willing to second that? Member Brown? Thank you. Get it on the floor. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We'll make sure we have something appropriate for her, and we'll pass along the details to the board once we know more about when that will be, if anybody wants to join. Now that I've done the other business piece, I can move into the updates. Thank you. So, Councillor Pierce, any updates from council that you'd like to share with us?
Nothing major. I guess just the consensus is now that Grand River Street North is reopened again. If we could, you know, I'm sure that there'll be, you know, patrols in the area, but just people are, you know, happy that it's open. And I actually did see a U-turn the other day, so people are back to some old tricks. So just you know, to note that you know, that it is reopened, so it could cause some traffic issues, as well as the with the intersection, the way that the new lines are at the intersection of Grand River and William there, with the stop and look, as I thought it was stop and lock, but stop and look, that may be one of the spots as well, if it's not on the radar already. Just you know, again, I think people have been 8 months of having to go through construction, and now they're just kind of letting loose a little bit. But any additional, you know, presence downtown for the next little bit would be appreciated.
Great.
But it is fantastic.
I haven't been down yet. We'll see. Looks good. I bet that you are all happy that this phase is completed. Understatement. Understatement. Okay, if there's nothing else then, thank you, Councillor Pierce, for that. I know that you're also dealing with the provincial decision of removing the speed cameras and what that means for you folks, so that's a lot to have to manage as well. So, and Cindy especially probably is trying to figure all that out.
There's, if I may, Madam Chair, there's actually something on our agenda this evening from from Brampton that I will be proposing that we acknowledge and do the same in writing back to the province with as far as many of us are concerned, the unnecessary, and at the end of the day, most of us don't agree with them taking it out. So anybody that's tuning into council tonight, there is something that I'm going to be speaking to that we received in our package from Brantford that they're sending through to the appropriate folks, advising them that, you know, statistics do show that it does reduce speed, which in turn makes things safer. But at any rate, thank you.
Member Stryker?
So just out of curiosity, are the cameras, I see that they're still up, but they're not being monitored, or tickets are not being issued, is that correct?
Tickets are not, through you, Madam Chair, tickets are not being issued, but they're there for stats, just so we have the continued roll of stats as to before, during, after type thing.
I don't know when I saw the post from Councillor Kyle, but it spoke to, I guess I'll call them the high flyers and the speed camera in that 40 zone, and the top 5 speeds in a particular time window, it was a social media post, was something in the effect of 50 to 60 kilometers over the 40. And nobody should be doing 100 going through a 40 zone and rightfully deserve a ticket. Anyways, you have lots to work through on that file for sure. In terms of OAPSB Zone 4, which OAPSB is a mouthful, Ontario Association of Police Service Boards, they are changing their branding to Police Governance Ontario, PGO. So in 26, we'll see some new acronyms. We had our virtual meeting here last week on the 19th for Zone 4, which was pretty well attended, all things considered. There was a few last minute folks that had to back out with other meeting appointments, but I just want to express a thanks to all of you and the support that you show to come online for that. The speaker talking about the use of AI in policing I thought was very interesting. A lot of food for thought in terms of some of the things we should be thinking about and some of the things that we should be considering in terms of us in our police governance role. The secretary will send out the link to that meeting as well as the minutes so that anybody that didn't come, and we're working on figuring out 2026 meeting dates. We'll do the combination of virtual and in person again for 26. The Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Zone 4 would still like to do a joint meeting with us, so that's still going to be planned as well. Yeah, so I thought that was a great meeting, and again, thank you to all of you that came and supported that. In terms of the chair update, there's been a number of things going on. Just wanted to acknowledge that Member Stryker and I attended the auxiliary, the O.P.P. auxiliary unit meeting October 30th, I believe it was, to recognize their 25th anniversary with Brant. And we let them know about the plaque that would be coming, and they were very appreciative. There was a gentleman there that was his first day as a O.P.P. auxiliary. He just finished the training and he came out to do that, and the units has some capacity for some new members. They're looking for new people to join the unit, and it is 100% voluntary, and it was good for Member Stryker and I to kind of connect with the team and hear from them and what they're working on. And then the media staff, I'm not going to promote him, Sergeant Sanchuk came out as well, so he did some videos as well that night as well to promote it. Met a couple of times with Acting Inspector McTaggart and Cindy regarding the newsletter, and I know Acting Inspector McTaggart's working on the next dispatch newsletter, which county is also helping us with. That'll be coming out soon. Thank you to all of you who participated in the Remembrance Day services and were able to represent the board and together with the O.P.P to be able to lay those wreaths, and that was great. And I've already acknowledged the work of the county staff on the survey. Just again, a reminder to make sure folks participate in that survey. You can't, I think there's been a couple of posts and articles about to the tone of you can't complain if you don't speak up. So if you don't have your say, then it's, but it's a great engagement tool for acting inspector to be able to identify local priorities. And then just to let you know that we'll be doing the Christmas recognition with the Detachment again this year as well. And yeah, it's been busy, but it's been good. So I'll leave it at that. Is there anything else before we, Member Boudreau?
Just one comment, because I don't know the answer to this, and I've been asked a few times. When it comes to the auxiliary police, is there I'm presuming there is definitely a minimum age, but is there also a maximum age for candidates to join on that?
Well, we met a gentleman there that was in his 70s, and you would never guess he was, but I'll turn it over to Staff Sergeant Kootenays to answer that.
Through the chair to Boudreau, there is no age limit as far as members applying. The minimum is 18 years of age. I am the liaison for that program, and we are in desperate need of more people in Brant County. So if you have anybody that is at all interested in volunteering and joining with the O.P.P, we are happy to have them. We had a guest speaker at our last meeting whose son is 19 years old at Conestoga College, and he's looking at joining the auxiliary program. So we welcomed him into the meeting so he could meet other members and ask any questions. So if you do have anybody that is thinking about it, our members are always welcome to have, open to have those conversations. Thank you.
And we'll see the auxiliary out with the holiday ride campaign and various other events, parades, food drives, all the different things that they're going to be doing. They're really important. I think we don't see them as much probably, but we undervalue some of the work that they do contribute to the community. So it's important. It's an important unit. So if there's nothing else, I guess this is our last meeting of 2025. So it seems it's a month today, so it seems appropriate to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And I know not everybody's ready for that yet, but it is the trees have been lit and things are happening. So wishing you all some downtime with your family and friends and rest, and for a happy new year. And I'm sure we'll talk, but we'll see you all in person in January. So with that, we'll adjourn.